1st of July, Rabbi Levitt, Horeb.
Okay, we're ready to go with Sefer Horeb, and we are up to, we got up to Sukkah. We're into chapter 30 on Sukkah. So we got, we're up to section 219. Whether a person's wealthy, whether a person's not so wealthy, he's got a lesson, a big lesson from Sukkah. Sukkah is teaching us that Hashem is the one who's providing, and we remember that, and that gives us and not only that, he knows everything that happens to us, like Rav Hirsch said, and he's our loving, caring Father. Okay, so it connects us. Okay, 219, Alan.
Okay, what is it that estranges us in life from God and makes us conceited or bereaved of us of hope, and amid all our cares, where well-being leaves no room for our true happiness? It is in the madness with which we cling to worldly possessions and place them upon a pedestal as the gods of our life. It is the madness with which each one of us builds his Tower of Babel, and we believe ourselves secure in our own sham shelters. From this madness may Sukkah deliver us from the accusation of possessions and of man's talents, and your submissions to us release us, and instead may it lead us to Hashem as the only basis of our life. May it teach us to put our trust in God and rely on only on Him, Emunah. I saw something. Someone says, "What's the difference between our trust in God or rely on Him?" I saw that someplace. What's the difference? Trusting God or relying on God?
Oh, that's a good question. What is the difference between trusting in Hashem and relying on Him?
I saw that someplace. I don't remember where.
Well, I mean, trusting, you trust in Hashem that everything that happens is from Him. So it's all mina shamayim. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna you might be worried that He won't give you what you need, what you feel you need to have. So you can't rely on Him, so to speak. But someone who relies on Hashem knows that he's gonna get what he needs. He's not just trusting in Hashem that Hashem will do whatever He's gonna do. He's not subject to other powers. Okay. Yeah, good question. He's putting them together over here. He's putting them all together. Okay. 220. We go to Lou to continue the reading.
But you must not move into the sukkah with thoughts of your own destiny only, or for yourself only, or for the emunah embracing your own life, but as a son of Israel, conscious of the fate of your people, thus extending emunah to your people's destiny also. Oh, if only Israel, when it still lived happily and united on God's soil, had entered the sukkah in the true spirit of Sukkah. Never, never would its gods have become as numerous as its towns. Never would the voice of the prophet have been heard back to the wilderness. You, however, fellow Israelites, who are once again dispersed throughout the wilderness, move into the Sukkah and learn how God sustained your forefathers in the early wanderings in the wilderness. Is with you in your present wandering in the wilderness too. Look back upon your centuries of suffering, oppression, degradation, and darkness. Were the protecting clouds of the Almighty wanting? Did not the flaming fire lead the way? Did not your God sustain you, O poor son of Israel? Bereft of all humanity devised protection, all humanly devised protection. Was it not God who sustained you? And now, indeed, as if to test whether you, Israel, who had remained faithful in suffering, were strong enough to remain faithful in prosperity. Has God breathed a spirit of humanity and kindness into princes and peoples so that they now willingly begin to loosen the fetters which they had drawn so tightly? They of themselves begin to heal the wounds which, in their mad moments, they themselves had inflicted. And now, Israel, your younger generation, you cry in these acts of mercy, your deliverance. And in this removal of their yoke, their redemption, the triumph of their struggle, a struggle for the free upbuilding of self and the free consummation of their own mode of life, a recognition of the whole meaning of Israel's destiny. They behave as if Israel had been separated from other nations to march through history along a course peculiar to itself, only in order to be submerged in the nations worshiping Mammon. O youth of Israel, who are still imbued with the spirit of Israel, move into the Sukkah, keep aloof from the madness of the moment. Must Israel choose a man-made basis of life as its God of life? Cling fast to God, God who bears you on eagle's wings through this time of trial also.
Hmm. Hmm. I see the editor in on note 2 on the bottom. He believes that what the Rav Hirsch is referring to over here, when it says that the princes and the peoples of the nations of the world now willingly loosened the fetters that they had drawn so tightly. They begin to heal the wounds which in their mad moments they themselves had inflicted. He says that this is referring to the emancipation of European Jewry, which began in the days of Rev Hirsch, when the Jews were able to be part of the rest of the society of the nation that they were in. So he's calling though for the fact that still remember to cling fast to Hashem in these times of yes, religious freedom and general freedom in general, and not to be submerged into the nations worshiping Mammon. I guess that's what that word means over there. Mammon. It's referring to money. I don't know. That's the okay.
Alan, please mute yourself.
221. We go to Roy to continue.
Yea, move into the sukkah as a citizen of the world, youth of Israel. When in the future the prophet and sages of old gave us in their utterances a glimpse of what is to be, when in the future mankind will have learnt from their own experience the emptiness and unreality of their labors, begun with Babel and directed to basing their life upon earthly goods, but without God, they will move into the sukkah. Then will a bond of brotherhood encircle mankind, and united in brotherhood under one God, they will be freed from the worship of the idol of Mammon.
There he goes again, the idol of Mammon.
Then will the one God receive them all in the tabernacle of peace as their Father, and as the one and only Hashem will he alone be adored upon earth.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So the sukkah, Rev Hirsch's understanding is teaching us to place our focus more on coming close to Hashem. That's our main focus. That's what our life is for. And as opposed to the worshiping of the idol of Mammon. And he says this halavai, this should be a something that includes not only the Jewish people but all of mankind. They will be united under one Hashem, under the one God, Hashem Elohim, and then they will be freed from this worship that they have of the idol of Mammon. And then Hashem will receive them all in the tabernacle of peace as their Father. And as the one and only Hashem will he alone be adored upon earth. So we have to focus our adoration on Hashem as opposed to other things. This is all what the sukkah teaches us. Okay. Oh, now he's perhaps going to go into why it is that the sukkah teaches us this. What's the connection with sukkah and these ideals that we're talking about adoration of Hashem and worshiping Hashem and wanting to come close to Hashem as opposed to uh, uh, material pursuits. So 222, we go to Meir.
Okay, it says, but no. Okay, the sukkah should therefore represent both a shelter bearing no trace that it exists by the artificial design of man, and a dwelling you have taken for yourself, not haphazardly, but for all time. These two concepts, one, the absence of man-made design, the incidental character of the shelter itself, and what follows it, dirata roy, okay, and two, your permanent and everlasting occupation of it, kein taduru, are the two fundamental principles which govern both the building of the sukkah and your duty to live in it. Constructing the sukkah. In every human abode, two things stand out clearly: the protection provided by a roof and the provision of using the shelter for one's private life. On the one hand, space, and on the other hand, partitioning and privacy by means of walls. Therefore, in roofing the sukkah, the absence of planning, the casualness, this must be evident. While in its space and walls, shirei v'difanot, the permanence of its use and its stability are made clear. Okay, one, roofing, tzchak. The sukkah with casualness and with material in its natural condition. The roofing must be taken and manifestly taken from plant life and must in no way bear the mark of human individuality. In other words, it must not be anything which has been pre-designed for use for some human purpose. It must not be anything which is receptive to tuma within the meaning of the law. Only those articles are receptive to tuma which have been turned into objects for the use of the individual human being. And so, neither hides nor metal, nor earth in its various forms, even if in the state of a raw material, for these do not come from plant life, nor flax, which has already been treated because it is no longer recognizable as a natural plant, nor fruits, nor anything made from plants, for these are receptive to tuma, or anything firmly fixed or refixed in the ground, because it is, as it were, connected with the part of the earth and not detached from it. None of these may serve as materials for roofing of the sukkah. The roofing, furthermore, must not be more than 20 ells above the floor. It's 20. I forget what the measurement is.
Amos.
Amos. Okay, he calls it ells, but okay, of the floor of the sukkah. According to the rabbis, planks may not be used for roofing. Neither may you spread out any blanketing under the roofing, even if it is within 4 handbreadths of the roofing, unless one can see that this was not intended as a ceiling. Bundles may not be used, neither may foliage be used if it smells badly, or leaves that are dropping off. If you used for roofing something comprised of what is permitted, and what it is and what is not, the larger part of at least must contain the former, what is permitted. Okay. The foliage forming the roof must be so dense that there are more covered than open places and more shade than light. However, it should, as a rule, be so loose that large stars can be seen through it. If it is so dense that rain cannot penetrate through it, it is invalid. Foliage which can shrivel easily within 7 days is not regarded as providing a roofing. Rather, does it create a gap in the roofing? Naturally, the schach must extend as far as is required by the area of the sukkah, at least 7 square tefachim. For the conditions under which the part of the schach, which may not validly be used for roofing, affects or does not affect the rest of the schach, which may be so used, or how far it may or may not be considered for the purposes of the sukkah. And on the question of gaps, it may form in the roof. I didn't quite understand all that, but okay.
Yeah, that was a bit convoluted. Okay. Halachas.
Okay. Someone else want to take over?
Yeah. I just wanted to dwell on a little bit of the explanation of how he's developing from the halachas of the sukkah over here. He says a sukkah has to represent a shelter that bears no trace of man-made design and what does he mean by that? They quote over here, Dira Sarai. In other words, absence of man-made design is telling us that the shelter itself is like a temporary dwelling. It's right. So that's the whole idea that with the schach cannot be a strong roof, and so that's a certain height. It can't be too high. So it's so that's the Diras Arai, and that I think communicates. I think what he means to say is that it's not man's ingenuity and his design and his effort which is protecting himself. He's in a place like that. He's got to rely on Hashem to protect him, mainly. Not the fact that he has a strong structure which is fortified and locked and et cetera, and like that he feels secure. So that's number one. Number two, he says your permanent and everlasting occupation of it. I'm not sure what he means by that. He says over here, Ke'ein Teduro. That the idea is that Ke'ein Teduro means that everything that you would do in your house, which is a permanent structure, which you don't go in. Everything that you would do in your house, you should do in your sukkah. That's Ke'ein Teduro. In other words, you're living your life in that setting of being in a shelter, which is a diras arai, that perforce causes one to feel a need to rely on Hashem not on one's own strength or power or et cetera, et cetera. So these are the two ideas that the sukkah is communicating to us. And that causes us more to connect to Hashem and be dependent upon Hashem and rely on Hashem, and then of course focus on that as our involvement in this world, to to connect to Hashem. Okay, so that's the connection of sukkah to what he's been talking about, to focus on one's avodas Hashem as opposed to avodas ha-mammon and other pursuits similar. Okay, now we're up to number 2 in parentheses, walls and room with an appearance of permanence. So we go back to Alan.
Which number are we on now?
We're on page 128,
What number? Oh,
number 2.
128. Okay.
It's in parentheses, walls and room with an appearance of permanence.
Walls and room with an appearance of permanence. This feature is indeed the underlying lesson of the religious freedom of the sukkah. It teaches you that you must not divest yourself of human acts or artifice by chance only and for the time being, as when you live in booths, but that when needs must, you can dwell in the sukkah permanently. That when deprived of the defenses made by the hand of man, you can find protection in and through Hashem. That is why the walls of the sukkah must be at least 10 tefachim high, and the length of the breadth of at least 7 square tefachim. Material for the walls may be of any kind, and must have a durability of at least 7 days. The sukkah must have 4 proper walls where there is not possible. See Orach Chaim, chapter 630, chapter 6. They should be able to resist a normal wind. The walls should be standing before the roof covering is put on. Okay.
So he said in terms of the walls and the material for the walls and the amount of walls, we see that there is a certain appearance of permanence. So wouldn't that sound like it's at odds with what we've been saying, that sukkah is a temporary dwelling? So he's explaining that no, this is so that that there should be a permanence in what? A permanence in the way that you live in your sukkah, that you should take that into your house also. And so that when you leave the sukkah also, you don't feel secure because you're in your house now, but because you learned the lesson of sukkah, that Hashem is the one who's protecting you, and that Hashem is the one who's providing. And you take that and you now can live in your house with that idea. So that's the idea of why there's a certain permanence to the way the walls of the sukkah are. Okay, number 3. We go to Lou, please.
General, a sukkah is valid even if not built for the purpose of a sukkah, long as it has been erected as a shelter. However, if 30 days have elapsed since it was built, the roofing should be new or be renewed for the purpose of fulfilling the mitzvah of sukkah, and should cover at least 1 square tefach, or a little more than the whole length of the sukkah. Where the sukkah was covered for the special purpose of sukkah, it is valid without having new or renewed roofing, even if the sukkah is 1 year old. Anyone who has failed to erect a sukkah before the festival should erect it during the intermediate days, even on the last of such days. At the actual time of laying the roof, the roofing material must be valid. The sukkah and everything pertaining to it, even if the latter is only for ornamental purposes, inasmuch as they are dedicated to the performance of a religious obligation, bear the attribute of holiness, and so not even the least of its adjuncts may be used for any other purpose during the whole festival. Only if it is feared that damage may be caused to anything hung on the wall as an ornament may be taken down. After the festival, the foliage used for roofing should not receive mean treatment.
Okay. So general halachas about the sukkah. Yeah, and in terms of what he's talking about, that it's a good idea to, in order to make that the sukkah is built for the purpose of sukkah, that that before the yontif comes in, the person should raise the schach a few tefachim off the where it's resting on the walls, and then place it down again, with the idea that I'm now building this shelter to fulfill the mitzvah of sukkah. Be'ez Hashem. Okay. Very good. We've got 2 more minutes. So should we take a look at the next section, the duty of living in the sukkah? Roy.
I'll just read a part because it's very long.
Fine, good.
The duty of living in a sukkah, the underlying principle of its permanence. What's this 222A?
It's section 222A.
The sukkah should not be a place where you spend occasional moments during the festival of sukkahs. Should be your permanent house, and all of your occupations not performed fortuitously should take place therein, as for example, eating, drinking, sleeping, entertaining, and if possible, studying. For praying, choose the place which lends itself best to your devotions. Let it be manifest that you spend your time in the sukkah readily and gladly, for it is not the zenith of faith merely not to fall into despair. The zenith of faith is achieved in a happy and elated mind, untroubled by suffering, bearing with life whatever it may hold in store for you. You should therefore adorn the sukkah with what is best, putting in it only what you would otherwise have in your living room. Thus, so long as you abide in the sukkah, You are mindful of its real meaning. You cherish your faith and divest yourself of all that lowers human dignity and which brings into the divinely sanctified human heart the worship of the power of possession. Thus, too, you stand at peace with the whole world, with God, yourself, your world, your life. You rise to that pinnacle of life where everything merges in one thought, God and your duty. This is you, if the sukkah is not an outward ceremony for you, if its real purpose, which God himself declared, is achieved, so that your generations may know that I caused the children of Israel to dwell in booths, and when I led them out from the land of Egypt, I, Hashem, throughout all time, your God. It's time now, so it's a good place to stop.
Okay, that's the zenith of faith, achieved with simcha and menuchas hanefesh, untroubled by the difficulties of life, bearing with life whatever it has in store for us. As Hashem, that's the lesson of Sukkah. Okay, and that's why we want to spend the time in the Sukkah, because that's the place where we find, like we were saying, our emunah and bitachen in Hashem and relying on Hashem and looking towards Hashem and not relying on our own strength and etc. etc. Okay.
11:30.
Have a great day, Tameir. All the
Okay, have
best.
a good day, everyone.
You too, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Best.
Shkaya.
Be back soon, Bez Hashem.